I feel like with Kendrick Lamar, there's no way to really prepare for this album. I mean, you could say you're like completely 100% ready, but at the same time, be not ready at all. Like, we got a new freaking album by Kendrick Lamar. You not really ready. Like, you ain't ready for this. What's up, people? I'm Master Steve. I'm an artist, composer, and engineer, and fan of Kendrick Lamar. And today we're listening to and discussing Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by Kendrick Lamar. Now, as you watch this video, let me know in the comment section how y'all feel about the album. I'm definitely curious to see, what y'all think. And go ahead and leave a thumbs up and subscribe to this video. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Master Steve, y'all.
So it's been 5 years since the latest release, Damn, which helped Kendrick Lamar become the first rapper to win the Pulitzer Prize, which is normally not an award that goes to musical work outside of jazz and classical music. It had a committee calling it a virtuosic song collection unified by its vernacular authenticity and rhythmic dynamism that captures the complexity of modern African American life. Some say it was well overdue, and I agree. Kendrick Lamar is definitely one of the best, if not the best artist that's out here today. And his music will definitely live on for many, many years to come just because of his continued evidence to show that he can elevate his craft and create a project that's so uniquely different than his previous projects, but also still have projects and music that allows you to think about life. And I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of that with this album. And because his albums are so uniquely different, it's often hard to compare at times which one's the better album. Prior to Damn, he had projects like Untitled Master, which was the unreleased remaining tracks from my favorite album, To Pimp a Butterfly, which in reality was so good you could put it in the conversation for one of Kendrick Lamar's better projects as well. To Pimp a Butterfly came after Good Kid, Mad City, which jump-started his Grammy Award recognition, with I being the first song to help him get his first Grammy. And here we are now, 39 nominations and 14 Grammys later. Gosh, like 14 Grammys, 39 nominations, that's crazy. And I also don't want to fail and not mention the Black Panther album, Session 80, and Overly Dedicated. But let's go ahead and get back to the Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers project, because that's what we all here for. There's over 70 minutes of music divided into 2 discs. I'm assuming the disc is Mr. Morale, and then the other one being the Big Steppers. And that makes it a double album, similar to albums like He's a DJ and I'm the Rapper by DJ Jazzy Jeff and The Fresh Prince back in 1998. And its length compared to the late 90s album like Life After Death by, of course, B.I.G. But let's not waste too much time, and I'm excited to just experience this, so let's get it. Man, that piano and that drums at the end, oh my gosh. You know what's crazy about that song? I heard it for the first time last night, and I came back to it today, and it just hits even harder. I honestly love how he was able to take the first song, something that's so jazzy, it feels as if he's speaking poetry in a sense, but throughout this song he's able to talk about his 19-year career, like some of the successes, some of the pitfalls, but then actually opening up and being vulnerable about talking about going to therapy just to get through some of the things that he goes through. That's a powerful song in itself, and it's him being very organic from the jump. So it's telling me, like, he's gonna be speaking some real stuff just to just because of this first song opening up as much as he did. So let's go ahead and get into this second one. I love how he came in so differently from the first track, very like energetic in his delivery, but very strategic. And then here he kind of comes in with like the more singing, lazy approach, and then he goes back to like a whole other flow. It's crazy how much dynamics that he has just from his delivery alone. So I've seen soundwave on both of the productions so far, so I'm not surprised about that at all. I'm pretty sure soundwave is going to be all the way throughout this entire project. So far, all of the songs I'm seeing has multiple writers and multiple producers, so it's just going to tell you the amount of variations that these songs can definitely have. I'm pretty sure when these producers gave them these beats, they probably was like, it was probably 2 different beats, and then Kendrick Lamar was like, hey, let's try to find ways to put it together. I'm pretty sure that could have been a thing too. I wouldn't be surprised about that. I'm pretty sure this song has to do with him criticizing COVID-19 and maybe some of the truths and some of the false narratives that maybe politics presented and stuff. So the repeated take off, I mean, maybe it's a reference to taking off your mask, or you know, because he had to put on a mask for so long. I really do love the production in the song. I think that thing knocks. It's so acquainted with like so many different elements, like a piano to give it its softness and balance. And then it builds very well. It sounds similar to a Baby Keem type production with a lot of the synthetic horns that's in there. And I believe this was something that was originally supposed to be on Baby Keem's album, but then Kendrick Lamar ended up doing the hook for it, and I guess that what made it become a part of his project.
At heart, told it. And this is the big stuff.
Okay, so Kodak Black comes in earlier than expected, narrating. Interesting.
Since bacteria heavy, sciatica nerve pinch. I don't know how to feel like the first time I fucked a white bitch.
Not the ooh. Everything about Worldwide Steppers was complex. One, the beat change up, but not even knowing how to shake your head to the instrumentation itself, because it's like such a repetition bounce with just such a beautiful piano element that's just added, that just brings it to a whole different dynamic. The production is just a work of art, and that's what makes it so complex, but also his lyrics is very complex. I mean, one, bringing in Kodak Black, who obviously has been accused of so many different things in his life, from a sexual aspect, to even introduce the song, to Kendrick Lamar even talking about how he's had writer's block for 2 years. To like, who would even guess he would have writer's blocks for 2 years because he's so good? But it made sense. To him talking about his attraction to white women on tours, his interracial relations, and then his partner questioning those actions. It's a very complex song, and you know, it's just told in such a work of art. Love the freaking instrumentation on this album. This was actually the most consistent song all the way throughout. It wasn't no really strong change in the instrumentation, so it's kind of cool to see that it's gonna be a lot of different types of songs. There's gonna be songs that you just kind of groove to and dance to, but it's gonna also be songs that's just fully just art, like a Mona Lisa type thing. So this song was very vulnerable in a sense of Kendrick Lamar talking about debates on opening up in a relationship in the past, and some of the insecurities and struggles that he has with those things, but then now at the end kind of coming to the conclusion that, well, he needs to accept those things, and in order to accept those things he have to overcome the past. And you know, with his full-time lover now, you know, letting go of that past and trusting that she will not take advantage of him or be unloyal to him. Very beautiful song, man. I love the consistency, I love the groove. It kind of slowed me down from the other songs, and I love that. I love how it just gives you a whole bunch of different feelings. First off, Sampha on the hook. Sampha, like, bro, crazy. These samples that's used in this track is phenomenal, and the drums just work so well with it. It sits so well with it. It sounds so old school and so gritty and so mean, but it gives you all of the boom bap that you want in this track. It's beautiful. And then the topic itself, daddy issues. You know, it goes in from a personal perspective of him talking about his daddy. Yes, he had his dad, though there were so many things that he lacked, and in the areas that he lacked, Kendrick Lamar became. Honestly, great to see. But then he also kind of talks about how that had an effect on him negatively, and it has an effect on a lot of people, if not the black community, those who just lack a father in their lives. And it ends on a manner of talking about women and how it affects women. So hey, this is beautiful, well written song, well put together song, production phenomenal, hands down one of my favorites so far. Yo, I freaking love Kodak Black narrating. I'm not like, I like some Kodak Black songs, but I'm not the hugest Kodak fan. I don't know his whole catalog like that, but I do love him just speaking on his personal experiences, his personal struggles about being in the industry, then giving respect to the elders and legends that, you know, influenced him. Then talking about how, you know, he came from nothing, but then now he's buying land, you know. So I just love it. I love the organicness of it and its rich spirit being this. I'm just excited to hear what this topic of the song is gonna be about.
Before I turn you to a song, hey, bitch, I'm attractive.
One thing about that song, the waves just sit so perfectly with each other, man. The mix on that song is crazy. I love the way that the kick goes from the left and right, and then there's so many different layers that also follow that same tremolo effect. I love how it does that, but then it adds so many different elements on top of that, while the vocal stays so steady in the middle. And in this song, he's just talking about, you know, his own qualities, but then also the criticism that he receives. I'm loving the melodies that Kendrick Lamar have throughout this song. I love the beat build up. It's very patient. It takes a while for the drums to come in, which I love. But then it also, when it comes in, it gives you 100% West Coast Cali feel with the doo-doo. And you just bounce the entire time. I love that. Yo, I love how they use this as the hook.
Stop tap dancing around the conversation.
Oh man, so that was the second time the tap dancing was used, and I love how at the end it was like stop tap dancing around the conversation. These conversations, especially in We Cry Together, is conversations that need to be had. In reality, it was a lot of pettiness going on in that whole conversation. It was a lot of anger, and then it ended up very beautiful with piano melody going on, and you know, them getting ready to have sex. Makeup sex. This is something that I'm sure we all can relate to at one point. It's very creative and definitely one of my favorite songs so far. And I think the song itself is just about a song about love. I love Summer Walker on this song. Feels so smooth. I love her voice. I love how she sounds in general. The fact that he got like Ghostface on there, it speaks on just the level of quality of a rapper that Kendrick Lamar is. Just to have a Ghostface killer feature, like that just says a lot. Hey, this is the last song of the first disc of the album. I'm gonna come back to it in the morning, take time away from the album, and then come back to it. Let's get to day 2. Okay, it's day 2, and I was listening to like the first disc in the morning, and man, it still grows on you. Like, it still gets better more and more you listen to it, and the more and more you listen to it, the more you discover. The overall theme so far that I'm getting just for the first disc is we often tap dance around the conversations and the thoughts that we need to have. And obviously Kendrick Lamar is very vulnerable in telling his stories, which makes it very easy for you to relate in some manner. My favorite song is still We Cry Together, as well as Father Time in the intro, and a sample that I just realized, shout out to Michaela, Father Time sampled Ladies 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 with Jid and T.I. on the Revenge of the Dreamers 3 project. Same sample used, but just reversed. So, just a fun fact. Count Me Out was very interesting because at the end of Count Me Out, there was a lot of tap dancing. So, you know, throughout the entire song, he talks about someone who counts him out, in a sense. It could either be himself, maybe initially, or maybe just a separate person. I'm not too sure. At the same time, I can still see how this is like him tap dancing around the real problem. Like, yeah, you gonna count me out. That's like maybe a defense mechanism or something. But in reality, he didn't really mention, okay, who's counting him out, like actually getting deep down into the midst of things. So it's just interesting to see where he places these tap dances. And maybe that's a way of showing throughout these songs that, yeah, it might be a groovy, vibey song, but at the same time, I'm still not addressing the problem.
That's what I call love.
Wow. When I got to that song, I'm starting to realize that he's using the piano, at least I think he's using the piano to be more vulnerable and to talk about more issues. In this song specifically, he's talking about him living a very satisfactory life, like, you know, a really good life, but at the same time, he's conflicted. He's not able to please everybody, and sometimes not even himself. He mentioned that he can buy himself a car and it might please him temporarily, but then when the car gets old, you know, he's gonna want something else. Kind of crazy, but I do love how the piano is used. I'm loving the piano throughout the entire album. I feel like it's very beautiful, and you know, it's backed by some very strong vocal deliveries which are unique and something that we haven't heard in so long. Now, give and take, this is Kendrick Lamar, so he's going to do that, but you know, his deliveries are very phenomenal. It reminds me of how Sabo was delivering his flows throughout his project. I freaking love Kodak Black's verse. I love Kendra's verse. I love the vibe of the beat. I love the strings, how it's simple. It just goes to Then in this song, you know, I think the song, like he talks about some of his problems. He talks about money. He talks about fake friends and relationships. But I also think in this song, I mean, the reason why it's called Silent Hill, you know, he talks about like him being silent about those type of issues and maybe his mental health. I'm definitely leaning towards him being silent about these type of things. And, you know, hey, shout out to Kendrick Lamar, because he's been very vulnerable and very open throughout this album, at least thus far. Yo, the beat alone on this one is crazy. I love how the sample is kind of reversed, but then he also used voice to just like fill it all in. And then again, the beat is very minimum. It's very consistent. It has a nice little groove going on, but then it allows you to just focus on what Kendrick Lamar is saying. And I freaking love that. Minimalistic, but the verse is just so complex and very in tune. I love how he started off saying, yo, Future, LeBron, like me, all these people that society naturally looks up to, you know, we're not your savior. Like they're not your savior. And he kind of has that as like the initial tone just to kind of remind you that. He's like, I'm not a savior. You look up to me, but at the same time, in reality, God's your savior. Like he talks about his problems and the things that he struggled with. He even addresses like certain situations in his verses. One bringing up COVID, him questioning Kyrie. In the first verse, he talks about racial issues. So I just love it. I mean, it's a very cool song. I thought Baby Keem would have a verse. He was on a hook. I thought it was phenomenal. I mean, it just shows you how talented Baby Keem is too. Just not even have to have a verse, but just to showcase his vocals. That's a talent, man.
More money and more attention, make more impact. Calling them any.
Love the ending. I think the ending specifically references one of his shows that he did where he called out a white girl for being on stage and saying the N-word, but then he uses that as a reference to everything else. Like, if it's okay to say faggot and all these different words if we let a white person say the N-word, nigga, which means it's not okay. I think this song is more so like a teaching moment. He didn't really fully understand transgender. This is him kind of reflecting and saying, well, I'm old enough to understand now. So it's him admitting his wrongs in the past, but also kind of relating it to everyone, saying, hey, this is not just me. This goes for every single aspect and not just the transgender community. Love the production. It builds throughout the track, and I'm excited to hear Mr. Morale. The production and stuff, I love it. I mean, it's a nice little aggressive groove. Maybe that's to kind of inference the serious topic of generational abuse, but I think it goes very well. Like he's speaking these stories, but at the same time, the feeling in the sound and the emotion in the sound kind of just works so well with the words.
My tears for a Range Rover transformation. You ain't felt good.
It's crazy how one person could have, you know, a form of addiction and drug use, but it wasn't until he was sober to be able to be vulnerable on this track and talk about this issue. I mean, he went back to a situation where he was 5, and you know, he had a family member that was accused of abusing him, but in reality he never lied. He said no the entire time, but his mother was abused and he had no idea, and she just wanted to protect him. So that kind of haunted him throughout his entire life. And again, like, it wasn't until he was able to kind of reflect on it, because he felt ashamed, because he felt guilty. But now you know within the song how he coped through things. Kendrick Lamar is human, and he is human throughout this album. Like, he constantly reminds us that this is what I did to go through it. You can either take that and, like, you know, learn from it. You can go to therapy like I did. You can grow from it. You can be vulnerable and speak on it, and not walk around these type of conversations. And in this song, he's definitely not walking around this conversation. He's definitely bringing it to the forefront, and I love the vulnerability. Kendrick, I'm not even mad at you for choosing you, man. Like, what's wrong with choosing you? And that's him telling you, like, yeah, I gotta choose me. You know, throughout all of this, at the end of the day, me choosing myself is gonna make me happy. Like, to be so long of an album, you know, obviously it's just so much to like take in, and so much to like break down and so much to just listen to and feel and think about and ponder on. I think this album is definitely going to live in people's minds for a while. Me personally, I love the production, I love the instrumentation, I love the lyricism, I love the storytelling. I even love the build-ups and the interludes and the different poetry that's within this album. It just brings it all together and it makes it so vulnerable and so organic, easy to relate to as well. The top is that not everybody is confident to even talk about, and I'm happy that Kendrick address these things. I'm just excited to just come back to it. So let me know in the comment section how y'all felt about the album. I truly loved it. I still have to listen to it over and over and over to even compare it to his other projects. But off the first couple of listens for this project, man, well done, Kendrick Lamar. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, comment below what's your favorite song on the album. And again, mine is We Cry Together and Father's Time. So let me know in the comment section what y'all feel, your thoughts. Let me know the meanings and different interpretations that y'all got. I'm definitely curious to learn more. Until then, StevieTV out.
Mr. Steve, y'all.